and here is the video review for the SXS R02 overclocking, their version of Blurr, the IDW design, based on his design that showed up in Spotlight Blurr. I'm not sure. I think the last time we saw him in the comic was in Windblade, and I'm not sure if he's still based on that design or if he's changed himself over the course of the series as well. I'm not entirely sure. Right off the bat, one minor little thing here. On some of the promo pictures and the artwork on the box, you can see he's kind of got some vents here on his nose. That looks like it's just an insert piece that wasn't on the sample I got. It's cosmetic. It doesn't do anything for the transformation. It's cosmetic only, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. But just know that, like, I am aware that it does look like there's a piece missing there. And it's, like I said, it's just a small little row of vents here in the nose cone. So yeah, so here he is. He's his, hover speedster car. He does look a little chunky from the side. He's a little thick this way in comparison, mostly in proportion to his cockpit. I feel like if his cockpit were larger, maybe he wouldn't seem so thick. But he does have kind of a wedge shape, high-speed car there. You can see there are some gaps here in between this. He's kind of got an open design. And I don't feel like that's a poor design choice. I don't think that's a design error on this. I do feel like if I were designing my ideal Blurr, he wouldn't have these gaps in the middle. But it does look like it was intentional design on the part of this particular look for him. So yeah. Not a whole lot of posability there in vehicle mode. He does have some wheels here that rotate. There's a little bit. You got some options on how to display the nozzles. They can tilt a little bit. In the cockpit here, it does open. So if you want to flip that up, or the windscreen does open. But other than that, he's just a little hover car. In a transformer, first you start off by taking this weapon piece off. And then you flip this panel up and fold this closed. And there you've got his pistol. And we'll get to that later on. We'll set that off to the side. Take the shield off, just like that. And that goes off to the side. That forms his arm shield. And you can see his robot head under there, which is hidden between this and the gun in vehicle mode. So you can kind of lift his head up here. Get it out of the way a little bit. And you unpeg these front covers off the arms, just like that. Kind of bring them up, just get them out of the way here. And then back here, unhook these back engines and bring this whole assembly down like this. And you can see we've got the legs set up here. Now the legs transform. Folding these in is very easy. Getting them out, I find it helps you kind of push one to the side a little bit. On this vent, push it to the side a little bit to give it a little bit more of a gap up at the top, which lets you get a finger in there and pop it open. Just because there's not a real, there you go. Or you can kind of if you can get a fingernail in this gap on this hinge right here, you can get enough pressure to pop it up. But so pop those open and flip the dark pieces out. And those fold back up like this. And then this piece, which was folded up in there, folds all the way up to form that lower leg and snaps together. And then this foot flips down like that. And same over here, flip this up. Then flip this whole unfolded panel up. Flip his foot down. And then on the front of his legs, these panels come down to form his lower shins. You can see they snap right into place, right down there. Let's come up here. Then this crotch plate comes down like this. And you rotate the legs around to the front like this. And these, actually you're going to leave these off to the side until we get his head taken care of. So this whole panel up here, this back panel, folds up and down. And you can rotate the arms. They tab in back here. You want to untab them. You can get the arms out of the way here, which will let you rotate these up. And that lets you swivel this whole lower panel. Before we swiveled just the lower waist, now we're swiveling the whole from right under this cockpit with the head attached to rotate around right here. And then these back panels, you just want to, again, fold these out of the way, fold these thrusters down, and these two back panels here split and slide to each side. So you slide those all the way out. You got to make sure these are folded down or they'll catch on those. And then the head assembly rotates up through the back, snaps in, and then locks into place up there. You turn his head around, and then you slide these panels closed to lock that in place. And then the thrusters come up onto his back, and then they rotate inward, and they come up right here, so they kind of sit behind his shoulders. Now, in the comic book design, he just had one giant thruster there behind his head. Here he's got the two smaller ones, but they rotate up to sit behind his head. And then once that's done, you snap this panel up, the hips all the way into place, and then these panels fold back and store here on his lower back. Just like that. It doesn't hinder his waist articulation. It doesn't really hinder his legs. And again, if you want him to go further back, you can flip that out to get a little bit more range of motion. But he does keep a good range of motion even with these panels stored on his back, which is nice. Then the arms, you just want to unpeg them. Or actually, they don't really peg. It's just kind of a tab there. And you extend them down. Come on. Just extend them down like that. Rotate them out like this. This cover flips open. Hand flips out. He does have a ball joint there, as well as they're all one piece, but the fingers do move separately like that. Same on this side. So these slide up a pretty tight joint. It's just a matter of getting a grip on it. Right, come on. There we go. And rotate that out. Flip his fist out. And stand him up. A shield can attach to either arm by this peg. There's a slot on either side. Instructions show it over here, so we'll just stick it over here so you can wear that as a shield. And he's got his gun here, and he can hold that in his hand like that. And there is overclocking in robot mode. Back up a little bit, get him a little bit more in focus. Nope, come on. There we go. And he's a pretty, like I said, he's a pretty decent representation of Blurr from the comics. It's not exact. Like I said, he had one giant thruster on each side behind his back versus the dual ones. But all in all, it's a pretty decent representation of Blurr as a futuristic hover car from the comics. His head's on a ball joint, so it can look up and down and around. Although, again, just the helmet and the top of the body keep him from looking down too far. He's got universal joints at the shoulders. He has a bicep swivel up here, as well as a swivel down here in the lower joint. Elbows, he's got that ball jointed wrist on each side. He does have the waist swivel. The universal joints at the hip. Now, at the hip joint, again, is a minor complaint because they're ratcheting joints. So you've got this position, and then one click out is this position. Again, that's the thing a lot of these toys suffer from is those wide ratchets in the hips. And you can go in there and trim down the nub, and there's ways to fix that. But I would like to see more ratchet points in the hips on these guys. He's got a thigh swivel. He's got the dual hinge knee, hinge here and down in here. He's got the foot, which is on a ball joint here, as well as the swivel joint for transformation. So you can get a pretty decent range of motion there in the ankles, as well as tilt the side to side. So all in all, posability-wise, he's pretty solid. I've had several people ask me how he compares, or have they improved since they did continuously variable, which was their gears, and I have never played with one. I don't know what... I tried looking, and I saw a bunch of people saying, like, I don't know why people are saying there are issues. Mine seems okay, but I couldn't find any description, and admittedly, I didn't spend hours and hours searching, but I couldn't find any listings of what the issues were with continuously variable. So I can only speak for this figure by itself, and it seems fairly solid. Like I said, it's not 100% perfect. I do feel like it's a little open and a little thick from the side in vehicle mode, but a decent representation of a future hover car, and it does look pretty slick and fast. I do wish the hips, like I said, with the angle of the ratchets, I wish there were at least a middle setting between those first and second ratchets on the hips. But other than that, I feel like he's a fairly solid overall figure. No part of it seems confusing or hard about the transformation. And And I don't see any spots that are weak. Like none of these, nothing on here said, oh, that's going to break, or oh, be careful with that. He seems pretty solid and sturdy. And for my first experience with one of their products, I really don't have many complaints. Like I said, if you know of any issues, or if you have any questions about this was a problem on continuously variable, is it better on this guy? By all means, ask them. I'll do my best to answer. Like I said, I just don't know what the issues were on the first figure to compare with. He does have a couple of little kind of missile banks up here in his shoulders as well that can flip up. And something I noticed, like when I was playing with his gun, to transform it into his, here's his rifle. To transform it into the car mode version, you flip this out and you flip this down. And you can see that that's where his head hides in there, and this is the front of the car, and it just kind of tucks in underneath the bottom of the vehicle. And I couldn't figure out, like, clearly there are some blades here. Like, with that flipped out and that flipped out, you've got like a claw weapon. There's nothing about this in the instructions. Like, you see the claws being folded up in the instructions, but you don't see how to use this piece. And I was trying, and I was looking at it, and I thought maybe you flipped it like this and had the claws out and he could hold it, but the way that blade and peg work, he can't hold it in that position. So, and I thought, well, like, all three claws are out like this, and so I thought maybe this square piece attached up here on his arm, and that doesn't work either. It doesn't fit. And then I noticed, like, this pin right here is for the spinny wheel for vehicle mode. Then I noticed this pin up here, and how this works is this piece, this end piece, flips up at this pin, so it looks like this. And then now there's nothing blocking up here. And then his fist slides inside there, just like that, and you can give him this claw melee weapon. I'm not familiar with him using it. Maybe he did use it in the comics. It's and I just forgot. I have not read Spotlight Blur in a while, but and that was the only real time you really got an idea of Blur in the IDW universe. I think aside from Swerve and his bar and references and stuff like that, I don't remember him using this melee weapon in the comic, but there he does have it, which is kind of cool. But yeah, like I said, the instructions show you how to take it from like this form into the store under the car mode, but the instructions didn't show you how to form that claw and how it was integrated onto the figure. So I had to kind of figure that out myself, but I did. So cool. Quick size comparison with some random stuff. Here he is with Shinebug from Toy World, because he's always with me these days. He's a little bigger than your standard deluxe. He's not quite, I don't know if he's quite Voyager sized, but he's bigger than your standard, deluxe in the store. Here he is with Rid Warrior Grimlock, just to give you an idea of how he is to the current deluxes. And of course, as I mentioned, Swerve and the bar and all that stuff. There he is with his pal, his best pal in the world, Swerve. They're going to start a bar together. If you read the comics, you'll know that reference. But there's Swerve with My First Blaster. From Make Toys, and just to give you a size comparison, I thought that was a fun one to bring in for the comparison. But yeah, here's a little instruction sheet, and like I said, here's the part I was telling you about on the instructions. There's nothing on the back; it's just blank on the back. But so you see this whole transformation to transform him from robot to car. And then here's this thing. Take this, fold it up like this, flip that up. Okay, I guess the instructions here do actually show you. No? I don't know what this is saying, because here's the claw weapon, and it does show the claw weapon, but it doesn't show you any way of how to attach it to the thing, but it does show you how to, like, flip it out like that, and you've got the gun, fold that up. Yeah, see, it looks like it starts from the car mode thing. Flip that up, fold it out, and you've got a gun. Also, it can do this, and that's it. And it doesn't show you, like, where it attaches or anything. So I guess it does actually show the claw mode versus the car mode. But that's the one part of the instructions that are confusing. The rest of them are all... this is one of the better instruction booklets I've seen for a third-party toy in a while. Very clear, very concise, and I didn't have any trouble getting it from robot mode to car mode. He does come packed in robot mode in the box. And there he is with his box real quick. So yeah, like I said, I haven't messed with any of their other figures, so I can't say, hey, this is much improved over the last one. But nothing on this has sprung out at me as, oh God, why would you do something like that? Everything, like I said, everything's very solid. Everything's very clear, concise. The instructions are good. And it's a pretty decent looking Blurr, all things considered. Like I said, it is missing this little piece in the vent, unless they decided to cut that piece for whatever reason. But all the art shows it, and I've seen some pictures of the proto that has it on there. So I'm assuming that was just an oversight. I don't see it anywhere. But yeah, all in all, like I said, a few minor complaints. Like I said, personally, I would have designed his vehicle mode a little bit differently, but that wasn't a failing on the design they chose. It's just my personal aesthetic choice versus theirs. And like I said, I do wish, my one legit complaint is those hip joints. I do wish there was some middle position that looked something like the art on the box versus this or this. You know, if they could stop right in the middle, like right there-ish, that would be nice if there were a click joint right there. And like I said, they're kind of staying there just by force of, I'm not touching it. But yeah, see, like just picking it up, and that leg went back in. But for the most part, yeah, it's a good solid figure. It's a nice representation of Blurr. Unless you've just been completely burned on the first toy, and like I said, I don't know anything about that. I can't think of any reason to recommend this if you like the aesthetic and you can afford it. There's nothing here on there that makes me say avoid this toy. I quite dig it. It's a good looking Blurr.